Welcome to Viv and Dave Boardman's Real Voices of Happy Valley. In this episode, we're chatting with Des Horsfall.
Yeah, a lot of you will know Des. He's been around for years around the music scene, and he's a really nice, down-to-earth bloke, and has had collaborations with other musicians, lots of them, including Pete Townsend of The Who.
Well, yes, indeed, who appears on one of his more recent albums. More of that later. Let's just listen to Des, shall we?
Take it away.
So here we are, sitting in our kitchen in Todmorden, me and Viv, and Des Horsfall.
Hello, yeah.
Hello,
yeah.
Des.
Hi, Des.
Hello.
And we've just done a gig at St Mary's Church in Todmorden. Yeah. Raised nearly £1,400 for medical aid. Yeah, which was great. But we're going to go back in time now.
Like Doctor Who.
Because over the years, you've worked. You've done some fantastic work, and you've worked with some of my heroes.
All right.
So you've been a professional musician nearly all your life.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, since I was like 20 or on and off. And
wow, so you've always made a living from it?
Well, not always. Sometimes it's very difficult. If for original material, it's always way more difficult, and you sort of have to keep a reasonable amount of money coming. You have to cut down the band size to try and get the amount of money, because obviously more people you have, the more splits it is. So it's I find sometimes I've had to be solo or duo or band, and I kind of like all of it. So I'm not really that bothered whether I suppose I like to jump around and when it's loud, and everybody loves jumping around in a loud band.
Yeah.
But I've done solo stuff and duo stuff, and that's lovely to do, because there's just you there, and it's the sound of you, and when you stop, it's silent. So there's
I hope there's some applause.
Absolutely, yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah. But was Raw Deal your first band?
No. In 1979, I applied for this singing job in Barnoldswick with these guys, and it like a loud, heavy band, 2 guitarists, a bit like Thin Lizzy. And I fit in because I sounded like Paul Rodgers, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's one of the two main influences, I think, until later on, when I were early teens and sort of 20-ish. Paul Rodgers. I found that I could sing like Paul Rodgers, and I also could sing like Paul Carrick. Who's another fantastic singer.
Paul Rodgers was free, wasn't he? The singer?
He used to make you go weaker than he, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh God, what a fabulous singer! And I still influenced by Paul Rodgers, but I found out that I'm somewhere pretty much exactly in between Paul Rodgers and Paul Carrick. And so am I rambling on too much? I've never shut up. You've not had a chance to ask me a question.
Well, I was going to ask you about Alexis Corn. Alexis Corn managed Raw Deal.
Well, if I go from the first band, which was 1979, and that turned out to be a band called Turbo, which is sort of heavy rock. And within a year, I found, I don't really want to be doing this. I want to be doing R&B and fast stuff, and playing a Telecaster and walking on tables and doing that kind of thing. So I ended up doing my own stuff up until, I think, 84, when I joined. I think it was 84. Might have been earlier, 83 maybe, when I applied for an advert in one of the national music papers, blues rock band influenced by blah, 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 need a singer. So I went to Leicester. Or did I go to London? Can't remember. They ended up somewhere.
One of those places.
Yeah, it was. Either they might have been lived in London then, and then moved to Leicester, and then back to London. Anyhow, I auditioned for that band and got the job, and it was a good fit. I could sing the stuff really naturally and really easily, the Paul Rodgers stuff, and then they were either talking with Alexis Conner or they were already with him. and he rang me, and I chatted to him for a while, and then he started managing the band.
So which band was this?
This was Raw Deal, a band called Raw Deal.
Yeah.
And we were doing okay, and then he was because he'd discovered free.
Well, he was like the godfather of
absolutely
R&B in this country, wasn't he?
Even before that, he had all the guys like Jeff Beck, and I think they all came through his band.
Yeah,
all the top, well, maybe Clapton. I don't know, maybe Clapton too.
He might have done. It was very close to the Stones as well, wasn't
it? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so he managed the band, and he was actually steering it towards getting a deal with Atlantic, and then he became ill. Became very ill, and well, sadly he died.
Yeah.
And then his wife Bobby took over the management of his affairs musically, and so she took over the management of the band, and then it kind of, like things do, I don't know, it just fizzled out, that side of it. And then I had other ideas. I wanted, like I said, I wanted to be, pumping R&B and singing and fast things, because that was quite steady. The free thing's quite a steady thing. And I was just vocals, and I'm always uncomfortable if I don't have a guitar. And so I found that a bit awkward, and so I left that band. And
I've heard a few people say that you don't really know what to do with your hands if there's not a guitar.
I really don't. I can. Some people naturally do it, don't they? Like Rod Stewart, he's spinning the mic around. And although Paul Rodgers weren't like a circus act in that way, he sort of had that stoic. I just stood there, didn't, and I found that so uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I needed to be strumming or walking about, and so that didn't last that long. And I think they eventually did get a deal with Atlantic, but that didn't last long either. And you don't realise at the time how I didn't. I was just like 20, 22. I didn't really appreciate management and what people actually did. Well, you'll know that you run an agency, you manage people, and there's so much work goes on behind the scenes that people don't see.
Absolutely,
and that supports the artist, and people don't see that, and often the artist doesn't appreciate that kind of thing.
But if you're the one who wants to be up front and singing and jumping around, there's no reason you would. No, especially when you're young.
Indeed. And when you get to a certain level, it's just there, and you don't really appreciate it. You've got your job to do, and you do what you do, but you kind of don't appreciate what people do for you a lot of the time. And I'm sure you've felt that sometimes. You've worked hard and doing what you've done, haven't you?
Yeah. So, Fallen Horses came, but that was later, wasn't it?
That was later on. We had.
That's when we moved to Hebden Bridge, late 90s. So
is it?
Yeah, but that's when we first saw you.
Is it at that time? And that were Fallen Horses?
Yeah.
So that were like 2000 or 1999 or
something
like that. I think you'd been away, and there was excitement at the trades that you were.
The first gig we saw you at.
That you were kind of come back.
Yeah, it's sort of punctuated. Your life's punctuated with exciting little peaks of things.
Yeah.
And that was an exciting band.
Yeah, and you were great. Yeah.
But I mean, over the last 8-9 years, it's been the Cushy Rye.
It's been the Cushy Rye obsession, really. I started that in, what would it be, 2008. What happened was, I did in 2000. I'd probably a bit burnt out from the music business after doing it for so long, and then. So I decided I needed to learn how to engineer properly and learn all about the technology and the different technologies. So I was living in Mythenroyd, and I happened to have a big shed in my back garden. So what I did was I enrolled on a degree course at Leeds College of Music.
Oh, right.
And I thought, I need to learn all the technical aspects of what I'd been doing for years, but why I were doing certain things and how to develop the skills of music production efficiently and learn how to engineer. And so I did that over the next, it were a 4-year thing. a mature student. And then by the time it was 2005, 2006, I built a studio, all analog, which I'm still obsessed with.
The Valve Studio.
Yeah, Valve Studio, and I'm still obsessed with analog now, to people's dismay. Like the band, what are you doing? Just record it, and it's easy. You just go, release there, and I'm going, no. I want these big machines that I love to use, and I can fix with a box of spanners, and I know what I'm doing. So I got the studio up and running, and then I got hit with the Ronnie Lane thing around 2006 or 7 or something, and I just became obsessed with it.
So I mean, if anyone doesn't know, Ronnie Lane was the bass player in the Small Faces and the Faces.
And the Faces, yeah.
And he got, correct me if I'm wrong, but he got a bit fed up with what they were doing and wanted to sort of do something more rustic.
That's it. He wanted to go back to what it was all about, the small venues and the earthiness and the rusticness of it. And he got fed up with the stadium and all that bluster stuff. Even the money he got fed up with.
You can only throw so many televisions out of hotel windows.
Exactly. must get so dull. And so you probably know this story. He then moved. He finished with the Faces, and he moved with Katie Lane to, and he had 2 kids already, Luke and Ruben, who I've become good friends with, and his wife Katie, and they moved to Shropshire. Beautiful area of Shropshire. So I like I said, so I set the studio up, learned how to use it, and then I just became so obsessed with Ronnie Lane's Slim Chance, and the first album, Any More for Any More, which it's like an acquired taste. I listened to it probably 10 times, and then once I'd got into it, I was just like, why did I not know about this stuff before? And I'd kind of heard it, with hits in the 70s with the Poacher, which we all remember. I remembered it from then, and I remembered seeing it on Top of the Pops, and seeing these 2 guys, one playing a mandolin, one playing an accordion, who were obviously Benny Gallagher and Graham Lyle, Gallagher and Lyle, who at that time I didn't know, but they were the first inversion, if you like, of the band Slim Chance. They were in it. Gallagher and Lyle were in that band. So, and I already loved that stuff anyway. The Gallagher and Lyle stuff, Dead and Gone. And Malt and Barley Blues.
Because they were in McGuinness Flint.
That's it. Another favourite band. And I thought, once I finish this trilogy that we'll talk about in a minute, I need to do like a capped off into one of my favourite bands, McGuinness Flint. What a fantastic band. And so a really rustic, wacky band, and where Gallagher and Lyle wrote the music for it. And we're in the band, and just every time I play that stuff, everybody goes nuts because they all know it. Oh, I love you, baby. As soon as you start, they go, whoa, they're all up and dancing.
And frequently, I get the impression people haven't heard it for decades, and they know it straight away.
Yeah, and as soon as you play it, they go, I know that. And so that's where that drew me in as well, because I realised that all these people that I'd loved from before were in Ronnie Lane's band. And then, should I elaborate on the story of the Cushy Rye? Don't ask me any.
Yeah, go on. Tell us about where the name Cushy Rye comes from.
Well, it comes from a Slim Chance, a Ronnie Lane Slim Chance song. And so I started writing things in that style, and obviously I was lucky enough to have a beautiful studio by then with all this old gear in it. And then I got involved with a good friend of mine, Graham Haig, he was there the other night. And Graham had a company in Manchester called the Creative Consortium, and they had a sister company called the Layout Pad. And so it ended up we had this amalgamation of me doing the music and recording, and then doing all the graphics and all the beautiful things that you saw. That album, that vinyl album, which was a vinyl release of the CD. So we had a great little thing going on. So we ended up, I got in touch with I was so cheeky, actually. I found out everyone on this album, the Anymore for Anymore, starting off with Charlie Hart, who was the Squeezebox player. He was originally the bass player with Ian Dury.
Yeah.
And the Blockheads and all that early stuff, Kilburn and the High Roads. So he ended up playing on it, and then he invited Steve Simpson, who was a guitar player, with that. And if you look up Steve Simpson, he's done so many people. Yeah. Such a lovely guy. Well, they all are. And so they were good enough to play on that. And then that built and built and built, and I had this album full of these people. I couldn't believe that they'd said, yes, we'll play on it, which became the first Christy Ray album, which is The Good Gentleman's Tonic, which you used. Yeah. That was originally a beautiful package that Graham and his company had done. A lovely CD package, and then which later on we did a vinyl, which you saw the other night. Yeah. And then it went on from there. So don't ask me, have I carried speaking?
Yeah, just carry on.
So sorry, it's
it's real voices. The voice is yours this week.
Well, okay. So we did this first album, and I couldn't believe we've got all these great guys on this album. Then then Charlie said, I think you need to go to Bishop's Castle and meet Katie Lane, Ronnie's wife, and the kids. And he kind of organised it. He said, is it okay? Because obviously they get loads and loads of people sort of, not sightseeing, but wanting to talk to him. And it gets so overwhelming for him. So Charlie sort of passed it, said, is it okay for these guys to come, the genuine, blah, blah, blah. So we went many times, become great friends with Kate. And there's a fantastic pub in Bishop's Castle called the Wonderful 3 Tons, with a back room, which Ronnie played in there often. Yeah. And he played at a place called the Miners, which I did a gig at. And the Monkey Inn, I think that's gone now, where he used to play with Clapton. So we went, and we had, from then on for years after, we'd go and visit Katie and take her tea bags and whatever else. And then moving on to the second album.
It does sound like Ronnie got his wish, isn't it? That
he did. He actually
wanted to kind of go back.
He did. So what happened was, because there's so much to talk about, you could go on for days. But then, so they moved there, and the little studio that Ronnie had, because he had a mobile, the beautiful Airstream mobile, like a silver bus. And so all the stuff thereafter, and he'd used that for Led Zeppelin and the Stones and everything, but he'd moved it to Shropshire, and there it was parked. And then we had to make a follow-up, because I'd committed to a trilogy, which, like, 10, 12 years later, I'm still trying to do the third one and thinking, why did I agree to a trilogy? Because, anyway, the second album we recorded with, I hope this is not dull and like a list. No. It's just I'm trying to. It'd be better if you were asking me questions, because I just feel like I'm just rambling.
Well, I was going to ask you about sort of Pete Townshend's involvement.
Right. Okay. So what happened then? We'd got the first album done, and then I asked. We happened to get his email address, and I'd almost finished it. I'd almost finished the first album, and I sent an email to Pete saying, would you be happy or interested to play on this album? And the response came back, and it was like a jaw-dropping response. He said, this is a killer record, killer. I need to be on it somewhere, somehow.
Fantastic.
And so I went, wow, what a response.
I think I'll allow that.
I don't need any. If you need like a positive reaction or something for the next album, you go, well, what do you need? So he said that. So it ended up then, and then he said, after I played it to him again, or I'd maybe put some more bits and pieces on it, he just said, come down and see me. So he had a big house called The Wick in Richmond. He's now sold it. And it was Ronnie Wood's house. So he said, come down and see me. So I went down to London. Obviously, I'm like this. I'm going to see Pete Townsend at his house. And so I took the CD. It was only a demo CD at that point. So I went down into his cellar studio, which it was actually Ronnie Wood's studio, Woody Studio it was called. Yeah. So I went and sat there in amongst all this wonderful gear. And Pete sat there and I sat here, and it was so loud because he's deaf. Yeah. He's almost totally deaf. Mm. And I had to say to him, "Can you turn it down, please?" Because it's bursting my eardrums. And he went, "Oh, yeah, okay, right, okay." So we played up the whole album through. And he just said, "Well, I don't see there's anything I can do. You finished it." He's like, and I'm saying, "No, I'm sure I can squeeze you in somewhere." And he just went, "Nah, I don't, because I think what he thought was, I don't want to take somebody. It's not fair to take somebody else off to put somebody else on." Yeah. And he just said, "No, I don't really see. He's fantastic. A great voice and everything, but I don't see as I can fit in." So obviously I was a bit, right, okay. So I said, well, he said, "Keep in touch, though." And so I said, "I will." And obviously I did, Yeah. So I got the next album not quite as finished. And I sent it to him and he said, "Yeah, I'd like to do something with this, but what do you suggest?" And I was saying, "Well, I feel maybe you could put something back," because he plays banjo. Yeah. And you know that song Squeezebox? Because I think that he played banjo on that, and they had a squeezebox. Whoever played the squeezebox, and so I said, "Why don't you play?" No, I don't hear that. And so I said, "Right, I'll come back with another idea." So I went to see Katie in Bishop's Castle and said, "Look, Pete's interested in playing on the album, but we can't nail anything. We can't decide what would be right." And she said, "Well, do you want to write a song with me? I've got some lyrics, and the song's called Chameleon." And I said, "Yeah, okay. Do you want me to do it?" And she said, "Yeah, you see what you can do. See what you can do with it." Anyway, I wrote this
Katie's lyrics,
and so I go away with Katie's lyrics. But I added a chorus and sort of made it an upbeat sort of country song. And I took it back to her, and I gave her a cassette and said, "Play that. What do you think?" She went, "Nah, I don't like that." So she's dead to the point and quite blunt. And so I just went, "All right, okay. So what do you want to do?" And I said, "Shall I ask Pete if he wants to do something?" And she said, "Yeah," because they're big mates from when they were 15 years old or whatever. And I said, "Yeah, I'll have a chat to Pete." And she said, yeah, okay. So I went back home again, and I asked him. I said, I've tried, and she didn't like what I did. Do you want to do something?" He said, "Yeah, of course. I'd love to. So send me the lyrics." So I just sent the basic that she gave me on handwritten thing that she'd given me. And a beautiful thing, and it didn't look to me like there was a chorus or anything. It was just a block of lovely lyrics, and I sent it to Pete, and it was literally the same day. He just said, "Right, I've done it," and he sent this thing back with a picking of "You and I, no reason why." This beautiful thing, and it developed into this song where it made it into a hook and all this and that. And I went, "That's fantastic." So I sent it to Katie, and she went, "Oh, I love it." Well, you wouldn't not love it, would you? And the weird thing is, he called it Chameleon. He said, "You're a chameleon." I went, "Why, whatever. If it's chameleon, Pete, it's chameleon, whatever you say."
You are Pete Townsend.
So I sent it to Katie, and she said, "Oh, I love that. It's so nice." And I said, "Right, okay, I'll tell him." So I sent back to her and said, yeah. I sent text to him and said, "Yeah, that's great. She loved it. What shall we do now?" And I said, I'll do that. I'll put it on the album. I said, "But I can't play that how you play. It's beautiful picking. It were in, I don't know if you know, it was in Dadgad, which is a folk tuning. Yeah. But down one, so C sharp with Dadgad in C sharp. and it, probably because his vocal range. So I said, I can't play like that. I can strum and bits and pieces, but I can't play beautiful picking like you're playing. And he said, do you want me to play on it as well? Do you want me to play the guitar? And I said, oh, I'd love you to. That'd be so good. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll sing on it as well. Shall I sing on it as well? And I said,
sod off, Pete, it's my song.
Yeah, sod off, Pete, it's my song. So I said, all right then, yeah, just send us what you've got. So he earlier on in time, because I know he always works on analog, and I've got this certain machine called it's a Tascam MS16 16-track one-inch machine, and I've got that in France. And he said, I love that machine, and if you ever come across one, tell me. And I found one for him, an almost brand new one. So he ended up with the same machine, so we can collaborate on tape, because he only works on tape, and I got this. So he said, right, I'll knock this together. And I can't remember, it was within a week, and this tape turned up from Eel Pie Studios, which is his studio, and he'd done it. He'd done the finger picking, the voice. He'd done a click track and other bits and pieces, and just said, it's yours to use, however you want to do it. And then, so I took it to my little studio that I had in the back garden, and I put Chris, the bass player, and then Charlie Hart and Steve Simpson, Charlie on fiddle. No, both of them on fiddle, and some backing vocals. And I produced the track that became Chameleon on my song, on my album, and that was what I played the other night. So that was an amazing story, and I still keep in touch with him to this day. And he just keeps saying, when you've got something, send it to me. So hopefully I'll be able to send him something within the next 6 months, maybe, and then finalise the trilogy of after all this time, after about 12 years.
Oh, that's fantastic. Right.
And did you find, because you've been going a long time?
You mean personally, but doing music?
Doing music a long time.
Yeah.
And have you fitted everything else in around that, or have things suffered? Or?
God, I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? You've got a family, and
well, that's what I was asking.
You're trying to keep going and booking gigs, and it's hard, isn't it? But I have managed to. But when you're keep going
professional, it's like, I suppose anyone else who has a job as well as their family and everything. It is a job, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, I've a long-suffering wife, Rita, who's still with me after, God, how long? Since when did I get married, Dave?
Ages ago.
Absolutely ages. So, so we're...
That's the trick. You've got a woman who'll put up with you, then you've done all right.
Honestly.
Yeah. Well, it's good to eat and hold it all together.
Yeah.
What was that song we played on the radio recently? The Free Electric Band.
Oh, yes.
Rock and Roller gave you all the best years of my life.
Gave it all up for music and a Free Electric Band.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to know that the rest of your life wasn't.
Well, because it sounds like Albert just went, no, I'm doing this, and but we managed to be together and got 2 kids, and we're still together, and I'm still doing the rock and roll, and she's going.
That's brilliant. Well, thanks a lot, Des Horsfall.
You're so welcome.
That's been fascinating.
I hope I didn't ramble too much, but anyway, once I do ramble.
No, it's great. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and thank you so much for doing this, and doing your radio show, and being in the Valley, and doing things like this for people, and the musical things that you do. It's really appreciated, and thank you.
So after that, we should listen to Des Horsfall's duet with Pete Townsend. Here's Chameleon from his second Cush Du Rye album.
You and I, no reason why you love the ride, you love to hide.
You're a chameleon. Have you ever seen one? They change their colors when they want to hide. Now it's time to make amends. Have a go at being friends. You couldn't take the bends, but you love the ride.
Oh, my love, there's no disgrace in pulling horses from the race. Another time, another place awaits for you and I. You and I.
You're a chameleon. Have you ever seen one? They change their colors when they want to hide. Now it's time to make amends. Have a go at being friends. You couldn't take the bends, but you love the ride.
Let's have one more drink to celebrate that crazy fickle hand of fate that made us give it all away without a reason why. You couldn't take the bends, but you loved the ride.
Time to make amends, don't you try to hide. You're a chameleon. Have you ever seen one? They change their colors when they want to hide. Now it's time to make amends. Have a go at being friends. You couldn't take the bends, but you love the ride.
Oh, my love, there's no disgrace in pulling horses from the race.
Another time, another place awaits for you and I. Let's have one more drink to celebrate that crazy fickle hand of fate
that made us give it all away without a reason why. Without a reason why.
You're a chameleon.